show you how to plan your ride for Roundness. And this was a main request when we did the 30 Days to Round Challenge last year. Everyone was like, I want to plan. What do I do? And it depends a little bit on your horse. So please keep that in mind. But if I have a horse that I feel like I'm really struggling with getting them to be round, getting them to accept the contact, what I'll do is I'll do like a little 5-minute groundwork routine before I get on to just start getting them supple. And then after I've done my groundwork routine, I'll get on and do a little bit of the same thing. So one of the biggest things that I always do is work on the lateral suppleness and the bending and the inside rein connected to inside hind. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get him walking forward around me and really focusing on that forward first. So I just want him to walk, and I want him to walk with activity on a circle around me. Then I'm going to slide down my rein and get the bend. Make sure he's crossing over the left hind in front of the right hind. Get a little more bend. Take there, and then let him out. So I'm working through a little bit the braces where when I slide down, he should just really softly bend his neck around with no braces. If he tries to slow down, I'm giving him a little tap with the whip. I'm saying, no, don't stop. Bend. Bend. There. Good boy. Good boy. Boy. And then I'm going to do that on the right side. So definitely study the videos where I explain a little bit more the inside rein to the inside hind, the details of how you should be doing this. But this exercise and doing it from the ground to just get your horse more laterally supple is really, really helpful for when you get on and you want them to get round. It's great to do it on both sides and really notice if your horse is more stiff to one side or the other. This guy's actually a little bit more stiff to the left. Boy. So if I have a horse that I really struggle with roundness, I just spend like maybe 5 minutes doing a little bending, switching sides, doing the left side, doing the right side. Boy. Until they're just really soft and they'll bend their head all the way around pretty much to the girth. So you see how he's got his head bending all the way around to the girth. And then once I have that, and I feel like he's soft laterally, then I work a little on the horizontal roundness. So I put the reins over the head. I first off ask him to go forward, marching in the walk. And then I work on being able to get him round while I'm walking. So it's just always a really good idea if you're struggling with your horse getting them round under saddle, do this from the ground. And if your horse is feeling braced here, you can bend them a little more and turn it into a turn on the forehand. There. There. Boy. And practice it from both sides. I mean, the goal is that you should only have to spend about 5 minutes on the ground before you get on. But if you have a horse that's really having trouble accepting the contact and getting round, then the more groundwork the better, because I would much rather work through this when I'm not riding them than when I am riding them. Boy. All right, so then once you've done your pre-ride groundwork routine, the first thing to do when you get on is always just to focus on forward. So just getting your horse walking forward, feeling the rhythm in your seat, making sure that your horse can just walk forward without you having to nag. So I want him to just stay walking at this speed without me having to keep constantly reminding him. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically do the exact same routine I just did on the ground. So the first thing I'm going to do is just a little bit of inside rein connected to the inside hind. So I'm just going to slide down my left rein. I'm going to take a little contact on the left rein, And I want him to bend his head around and turn to the left. And when he does that, I'm just gonna release him and get the activity back in my walk. Make sure I have that energy. Then I'm gonna slide down to the right, tip his nose to the right, and I basically want that his body follows his nose. So wherever he's looking, I want his body to follow that. And then we're walking forward again. And then I'm gonna slide down, tip his head to the left now. His body is following where his head is going. Release, walk forward, slide down the right rein. Ask him to look to the right, bend. There, good boy. Release. And then once I feel like he does that pretty well, I can even take it a little farther where I ask for a little more bend. I put a little more inside leg on. So I'm just taking things a little bit farther. So now I'm sliding down the right rein. I'm putting a little more right leg on. I'm asking for a little more bend. There. Good. And then releasing. And the activity of the walk. Make sure he's really walking. And then I'm going to start taking up the reins, both reins. And again, same thing. I'm always prioritizing the rhythm and the tempo. When I take up the reins, he doesn't get to slow down. He has to stay at the same speed. And I'm taking up my reins. No, you don't get to slow down. And I want him to get round. Boy. So that's kind of the routine that I would use to just work on getting your horse supple, because you'll find when you do that routine with your horse at the beginning of your ride and before you get on, like he's so much softer. If I had just pulled him out of the stall cold and taken up 2 reins and started pulling on both reins, he would be a lot more stiff. So all the groundwork, all that lateral suppleness is really good. And then, you know, once you've done this routine, just kind of go on with your ride, do some trot, do some circles. And if you really start struggling with roundness again, so like let's say I go on and I start doing some trot and getting my horse warmed up, getting the tempo, getting the activity. And if I start to feel that my horse is getting like really stiff and I'm just fighting him for the roundness again, what I'll do is I'll go back to the walk. I'll get that activity in the walk so he doesn't get to just die at the walk. And I'll just go back to inside rein, inside leg. Inside rein connected to inside hind. You have to give and then release. Left rein connected to left hind. Bending, turning. Boy, and then release. Right rein connected to right hind. Bending, turning. Boy, and then release. And then I'll take up on 2 reins and go back to the trot. So kind of plan your ride based on this, and yeah, then go on and trot and canter and do some of your normal exercises and try some leg yields. But this gives you a really solid foundation of exercises that you know you can go back to work on getting your horse supple and getting your horse round in a way that's not just pulling on your horse. Boy. So I hope that helps you a little bit to plan your ride. There's a lot of exercises in this course that you can try and incorporate, but that's kind of a good routine to just get you started on the right foot with your ride. Some days I don't do any groundwork. Some days with a young horse or a green horse, I'll spend my entire ride time doing the groundwork. It just depends on the horse.